What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch, making some money, investing in fractional real estate online as usual. It's been a little while to, get this together, but I've finally given you my thoughts on Fractional.App. I know I gave you some, initial thoughts, and I signed up for their, I think it's called Accelerate program, where you get to look at just basically all of the deals that exist. They have a free trial, and then they give you, and then they charge you $25 a month. I'm basically at the end of the 14-day free trial, maybe tomorrow or the next day. Um, I'm going to pay for another month because I want to spend some time and really understand this. It's quite a bit different from some of the other apps that we're looking at. Oh, if you're new to the channel, Joe Catchpolia, been a real estate investor for about 20 years. I've been spending the last 6 or 7 months getting to know fractional real estate investing, trying out the sites like Lofty, Mogul, Ground Floor, several other platforms, Saul's Lot, Collab, Land Arrived, all those, trying to figure out, where there are real opportunities, and where are they just trying to take advantage of newbies. Um, I think there's a little bit of both on Fractional.App. If you, uh, First, before I forget, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, there's a link to a Discord if you want to join other investors and just talk about this platform, any of the other platforms that you invest on. And I also have links to all the places that I'm already currently invested. Some of them will give you some free money if you sign up, some of them won't. Just check those terms and conditions out. Just because I invest on something doesn't mean that you should, and just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not the right one for you. So you want to do your own due diligence on the platforms and the properties. But I wanted to share with you what I found out about, digging into this site a little bit. Fractional.app, it's a weird one, right? They're creating sort of this place for any investors to get together, form groups, work together, buy stuff, and they're just sort of creating this framework. Both, they're handling like the legal documents and also, um, the payments and how collection of money, but they're not uniform deals whatsoever. And so they sent out, when I signed up for their Accelerate program, they sent out a bunch of, I hope that's what it's called. But they sent out a bunch of emails of like past deals, so you could look at those. And I watched a bunch of videos from past deals, and I looked at some of the current deals. And it's really a mixed bag. And I'm gonna go through, I think, four that I thought, this is really just not for me. I think there's better opportunities elsewhere. And then I'll show you one that was one of their past deals that I think, hopefully the guy brings more on there because I think that I want to put money into everything that he does. So, but let's start off. Um, you had this assisted living behavioral health portfolio deal. They were this is one of the things that makes this site a little bit tough is, they're all trying to be creative with their structure, right? So this one is, you have a loan, you're getting paid 20% annualized returns on your investment until you get paid back, and then you're keeping a 10% equity stake. It makes it really hard to model what you're actually making on these deals. I did some math on their cash on cash returns. There's a lot of people doing just sort of wonky math on how it works. But I mean, I think the overall return on this one, when I mathed it out, seemed pretty decent. But what are we really investing in here? Like, you got to remember, the reason I'm investing in fractional real estate versus investing in stocks or bonds or crypto is because, in my mind, real estate's really easy to value, right? Like, compared to any of those other things, it's very easy to figure out what a piece of real estate is worth. And so then when I buy a piece of it, it should be easy to figure out what that piece is worth. And that's why when I'm buying on Lofty or Mogul, I feel like I can figure out if it's a good deal or if it's not. Um, what we're doing here is actually, first of all, there's a loan, and second of all, we're getting a piece of, you can see it's actually, you're getting, where is it? 10% equity stake. Somewhere else they mentioned it's in the operating company. It's not, they're basically, I believe they're actually renting the facilities and then operating them as these behavioral health facilities. They're not necessarily buying the real estate. You're not owning a piece of the real estate. Uh, I don't know. So for this deal, I watched it. It seemed like the guy knew what he was talking about, but it really is, to me, this is investing in a business. It's not really, there's not a piece of real estate I can look at and say, I'm going to own X% of that property, and it's easy for me to tell you what that property is worth. So like for me, this is just not the type of opportunity I'm looking for. It certainly could be for somebody else, if you're not if you're not sold on that model, right? But like, there's just so much opportunity to find, this home, this property, this, apartment building is worth X, and we're buying into it at, X minus whatever percent. Like, I mean, it's just, there's too many of those types of deals out there for me to want to buy ones that like, I really don't know if I'm getting a deal on this. If everything works out and I get paid the return, well, that's a decent return. But if not, what do I really have any collateral that's worth anything? So this type of deal is not something I'm interested in. It seems like they have, some of this stuff is pretty prevalent. Um, this next one, it's a home flip. You're just investing in somebody's flipping project. They look like Sorry about that, just having some technical difficulties. So this next one is a fix and flip. I'm a little bit on the fence about it. They are, they tell you a little bit about their experience. They've done this before. They're looking for a note and mortgage. They already have a hard money loan on the property. They're paying 10.7% interest. That's actually a pretty decent rate for a hard money today. But what they're looking for on this is $50,000 in private money from the fractional investors, right? That's what they're looking for on here. That they're going to need to complete the flip. They're going to pay a 20% annualized return, but they're expecting it to only take 6 months, so you're really making a 10% return on your money. They're saying they're de-risking this deal by giving you a personal guarantee and giving you, collateralizing it by a different performing multifamily property that they own. I didn't see any information about this property. Obviously, it's a platform that we could ask some questions, find out more about it. Um, I think, in general, a 20% return annualized, that's a pretty decent return, but I'm only getting half of that because it's only going to be outstanding for 6 months. Um, and that's one of the things when we're looking at sometimes annualized returns can be deceptive, right? Like I know I'm always looking at it like if I'm getting a pretty decent return in the short run, but it can be annualized and it's a great long-term return, that's okay. But when you're starting to look at like, oh, I can make a 5% return or a 10% return, but because I'm doing it quickly, it's a better deal. At a certain point, you have to start to think about your risk versus your return, right? Because you're risking 100% of your money to get 10% back, right? And you're doing that. And so, yeah, I could do that twice a year, but then I'm taking all that risk twice to get that 20% return. I don't think it's terrible, but as it starts to get smaller is where I'd start to worry, right? Like if I'm like, oh, well, it's 5% return, but I'm doing it 4 times a year, so I'm really getting 20%. The more times you're having to turn it over to hit that same number, the more, you're compounding your risk, right? And so, um, I don't think this is terrible here, but it wasn't super exciting to me. Without really understanding like what is the value of that collateral? Am I in a second position? Is it, if I only invested $5,000 in this, is it really like are we going to go after that? I mean, all these questions I don't know the answer to. Um, but if I thought I might want to continue to invest with this person, it's not a terrible deal, right? I mean, I'm overall 20% annualized. That's a good return. Like it's not nothing, nothing to scoff at. I think that one of the things that's happening as I'm doing more and more of these, the online real estate investing is if I'm doing something that's sort of not the norm, like on Lofty, where I'm buying discounted tokens and trying to get a sale, I want to get a really good return on that. When I'm buying stuff on Mogul, that's just sort of a much more traditional real estate deal, and when I'm looking at a mid-teens IRR, like, I'm much more comfortable doing that than I am necessarily shooting for 20%, but I'm on a note and and I don't know what my collateral is and I don't know what the borrower is. And this is somebody who's using a hard money loan and raising additional money to do this. Like some of those things make me worry a little bit. And those, the other is a long-term investment where this I'm going to have to figure out something again in 6 months. I don't know. I don't hate it, but it's one I'd only want to do this if I thought I were going to continue to work with this person, keep making these loans, build a little bit of comfort, and also again, like really understand what the personal financial situation is if I'm getting that guarantee, and what that real estate looks like that I'm getting, that they're using as additional collateral. So again, I mean, not a bad deal. Just wasn't super exciting for me. I don't know. I don't. So, like I said, I mean, it is really a mixed bag on here. This is, investing in somebody's subject to slash seller finance hybrid deal in Cincinnati. Not a market I'm really excited about. I really don't like subject to deals. I know they've become super popular. I have just seen people get in trouble with these in the past. I know there's people out there with hundreds and even thousands of these deals that have never run into a problem. But it is, I just think for me, if you're going to do a creative deal like this, do it yourself, right? I mean, you don't have to put a ton of cash into it. Um, I just don't see like adding another layer, jumping into somebody's deal like this, and I don't know. I just didn't like it. But that's part of me being I'm an extremely risk averse investor, right? Like I'm trying to make strong risk adjusted returns, and I think that a lot of people don't fully grasp the risk that's involved in subject to deals. Like I said, I have seen people like, oh, I've heard a lot of people say that getting your loan called is like a theoretical risk. It doesn't really happen, but I know of several people that it's happened to. And it's not like I know people, I don't know thousands of investors that have done this. And so if it's happening to a few people, depending on one of the things that I saw happen is it happened to somebody on one deal, and then all of a sudden it happened, several of their deals got pulled. So I don't necessarily think that it's, makes you safe by doing it with someone who's done this a bunch, right? It is not. I don't know. I just don't like it. I know there's people that do a lot of it, but it's definitely not for me. I think there's better ways to get good returns, without taking the kind of risk that I think is inherent in this type of deal that people just seem to be ignoring or sort of glossing over. So that's really all I'm going to say about that. I try to avoid um, doing anything that even resembles legal advice, and so which I think is funny. I mentioned something about that the other day, and it's the first time, I guess, maybe that I've mentioned on the channel that I used to be an attorney. It's where a lot of my risk averse nature comes from. I think I used to take a lot more risks, but I've just seen people get in trouble for all sorts of things. Um, that people just thought were fine. Like I actually know somebody who went to jail for a creative finance deal that person had been teaching how to do in classes prior to the '08 crash, right? So she was out there teaching this specific strategy. The crash came. One of the people involved in the deal wasn't happy about it. They brought it to, I don't know, some not to the SEC, but some group like that ended up, and she ended up in jail, and it was something that obviously she thought was perfectly fine. Her attorney had told her it was fine, but as it turned out, like, oh no, maybe it was securities fraud. It wasn't though. It was I think it turned out to be a mortgage fraud case, but I don't remember. We're talking 15 years ago now, and it wasn't me. It was somebody that I knew, but I actually know of several such cases, right, where somebody was doing something they thought, oh, it's 100% fine. Everybody's doing it. I took a class on it. Somebody's attorney said it's okay. And I'm not saying I think you're going to go to jail for doing a subject to deal, but I do believe there's a lot more risk in these deals than people realize, or are willing to acknowledge. And so I just avoid them. I know people are making money doing them, but I don't think you need to take on that kind of risk, to make good money these days. I mean, there's just other ways. There's other, options that I don't think you really have to do that. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that one. Um, this next deal was kind of interesting. That they're buying big piece of land, breaking it up, selling it. Again, this is a loan though. paying you 18% return on the loan. They think it's going to be outstanding for about a year. Um, again, 18%, pretty decent return for a year for a mortgage position. But this type of land deal where you're getting entitlements and you're subdividing, they're great every time until the last one that fails, and then you make no money. And I actually know a couple people that have lost tons of money doing these types of deals. They had done them successfully for a while, and then put did larger and larger deals, and then got to one that they just ran into problems. And it's really more of a timing thing than anything else, and the what their debt looked like. Um and so I think this type of deal, even with someone who's experienced and has done it several times before, I just find that there's a lot of risk in it, and it's and as a debt holder, your risk, your return is capped, right? And 18% is a good return, but I believe that it's not a great risk adjusted return. I mean, that's me. I don't know these guys at all. I don't know how well, you can find out a whole bunch about their experience and whatnot. But just the strategy overall, it is it's a high risk, high return strategy. And so, okay, I'm a lender on that deal. And they're paying a high return. But for me, I just think that there are, and again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, being, one of the reasons that I like the fractional real estate is I can understand what my property's worth, and I can understand my risk, right? On most deals, it's really simple. Like, I'm looking at a home. What's my risk in getting that rented? What it is. I'm not an expert in entitlements. I'm not an expert in subdividing properties. I can tell you I've seen these deals go bad before, just because, something like this, it's a great deal if it takes you 6 months to a year. It might be a terrible deal if it takes you 5 years, right? And if you're having to pay interest that whole time. Um, and that's where I've seen people get in trouble with these. But like I don't know enough about it to be able to come in and say to accurately judge the risk. And so this is not a deal that I'm very excited about, for that reason, right? Like, but and that's kind of, you can kind of see that theme, right? Like, I'm just having to trust that, like, that their business model works. There's not it's not that there's a piece of real estate collateral that I can really get my hands on the value of. um so these are just tougher deals for me to get excited about. This one, let me get to the last one. This one I thought was, though, very straightforward. This is somebody who has a lot of flipping experience. And the other thing he's doing is these condo conversions, and this was a condo conversion. So basically, what he's doing is taking like a duplex or 3 units, I don't remember which one this is, legally breaking it up into individual condos and then selling each unit separately. I've seen this strategy work phenomenally well in some markets, and in others it doesn't work that great. I think he's in a market where this works well. It's a market where people are used to buying condos. They're used to buying these somewhat, you know, where they buy half of a duplex or part of a small multifamily property, and that seems perfectly normal to them. To do this type of deal in San Antonio would be much tougher unless you were doing like maybe 8 units plus. Like, people understand that's a condo, but they don't understand a 3 unit building being a condo here. Like, it's just not something we see as much. This guy's, I watched his video. He seemed super knowledgeable. Like, his experience, uh, I'd be happy with. But he's also paying a 20% flat ROI. He expects it to take 6 months. And so if it does annualize, you're getting a 40% return. Now, if it takes longer, your return, you're getting less. If it happens to sell out quicker, your annualized return's the same. But regardless of how long it takes, you're getting that 20% return. So I like that. Now, obviously, if it took a very long time, then that return, shrinks. This is a past deal, though. He doesn't have he doesn't, you can't invest in it right now. But this is somebody who I'm going to follow on here. If he's got more, I think his math made sense to me. His answers to questions, like, he just seemed like this is a market he really understood. Um, what did he say as far as oh yeah, and you are getting a promissory note and personal guarantee on this, right? And then a second lien on the property. So you're not getting some extra collateral like on that other deal, but I feel like you're getting paid much better for your risk, provided he's able to get this done in that 6 months. Yeah, if it takes longer, if it takes 9 months and you're getting, um, I mean, whatever it is, it could potentially end up worse. Um, than that other one. I know that seems like, I mean, it is though. Like provided that they hit their business plan, you're getting double the return on this one as you are on that other home flip. Now you're getting less in the way of, protection because you don't have some other asset that you're getting a lien on. Um, but like I said, I mean, I just didn't know anything about that other piece of collateral. And 20 versus 10, it's just a big difference, right? Like now, if this ends up taking longer and they don't hit the business plan, and then, you know, if it takes twice as long, then my downside is that 20%, and then it certainly could be further, and then I'd be worse. But I just felt like I'm getting paid a little bit more, or a decent amount more, for the risk I'm taking, provided they hit their plan. And like I said, it's a strategy that I just really understand. Buy the duplex, sell individual units. And he just came across as very credible. I'd probably just invest in regular flips with this guy as well. But I do think that the condo conversion is um I don't know, it's a strategy that I just see being where it's a little bit more certain, right? Like I know that seems weird to say more than a flip. Um So is that true? It might not be true. Like the actual conversion itself is just paperwork, right? And so then beyond that, you are having to do the renovations to the property. So you could run into the same problems. And I'm hesitating because what I'm starting to wonder is this my bias because I like that business plan so much? Because it just is a very credible plan to me, and I've seen it work so often. Um, I don't know. I like, I'm expecting to get a significantly higher return. Um, it is, but I mean, he is still going through the renovation. But I think that that's one thing, like, I think there's more certainty in that creating the condo regime is really creating value. It's not necessarily just your renovation that creates the value. Um, I don't know. It's got me second guessing myself a little bit. Like, why am I so much more excited about this deal than this other flip? But I mean, it is. I mean, significantly better returns, assuming they hit that 6 month mark. But yeah, as it goes longer, your returns shrink to being about the same as the other ones are. Um, I think part of it is I was just really impressed by the guy in his video too. I mean, it seemed like he really knew what he was doing. Um, and I just believe these opportunities better, right? Like I think the condo conversion opportunity, like one of the things that I see happen with flippers is, they get, especially, some of them are fantastic and they continue to make money forever. Some of them just, they need to keep their pipeline full and end up taking less and less profit as deals go on, and I like having like this extra added piece of this business plan that I think makes it a more believable that you're getting a significant profit to be able to pay me a significant amount of money. Um, I don't know. I think that's part of it. I don't really know. I'm curious what you guys think about these deals. Are any of them very exciting to you? Um, you know, is what do you think about this platform in general? One of the things I was thinking, there are people that are bringing properties to Lofty, but having a problem raising the equity to buy the property first before they bring it. I think Fractional could be a site where you could do that. But then once you did it, do you even need to bring it to there? But I like the ability, the secondary market over there, right, to be able to, have the liquidity of selling off pieces. I don't know. I'm curious. I think that it could be. I'm still on the fence about this platform, right? I think. part of it is, having all these little separate communities. I think there's a real opportunity to like kind of get swept up in the, oh, I want to be part of this guy's deals or that guy's deals, and where they're not all real public. Um, there's not as many people scrutinizing those deals. I have noticed in our Discord a lot people jumping on some of the lofty operators and mentioning things that they've done wrong, and I think that's providing a ton of value for other people on the site. And so by having these sort of private little sections, you're not getting as much of that. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm going to pay for at least another month of this. Keep looking at deals that come up. Um, at the moment, it just doesn't seem like it's that there's just such great opportunities on here that I'd rather be on this than one that just has like a more straightforward shopping experience. Because what happens is these deals come up, they do these calls, and then people buy into them a lot of times right on the calls or right afterwards. Um, you can't just keep buying them after the well, until they sell out. But like these don't just sit on the marketplace where you can buy and sell from other people that own pieces. And that's part of that's part of what I like a lot about Lofty, right? Is like that liquidity. I can buy and sell pieces regularly. Um, they're kind of like locked into these. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think if the right like maybe the next time this guy brings a property to the site, I'll be jumping into it. Um, the minimum investment is 5K, which is quite a bit bigger than on a lot of the other sites. So I'm not sure. I can see some benefit to it. Like they're obviously they're one of the things that's strange to me is how many just really creative deals are being brought here. And it makes me think that, okay, this is a place where people can't raise money anywhere else or coming to raise money. So maybe it's a tool for that side of things, but not necessarily a great place to find deals. I don't know. Maybe it's a good place to find partners. Um, a lot to think about. I'm not ready to completely write it off yet. One of the things I'm really trying to experiment on all these platforms and understand what the strengths are, weaknesses are, like see who's going to be a winner. And we're really new for all of them, right? And uh, so, for example, if this one created a secondary market where I could start buying pieces of other deals people have bought into earlier, that might be interesting. One of the things, though, I've noticed is there's a lot of these like short-term deals on here, and I don't love that, right? Like, if one of the things I know I'm doing a lot of short-term deals on Lofty, but it's not necessarily what I was looking for when I came, when I'm thinking fractional real estate investing, right? Like, I'm trying to buy into deals that I'm going to own for a long period of time, and none of these really meet that criteria. Sorry about that. Spam caller. But I don't know. Anyway, that's really all I've got to say about all these. I am curious if anybody else has some thoughts about this platform. Um, but that's it for today. Until next time, as usual, I will keep making mistakes so that you don't have